and he's put his elbow through his number 7 section of his Preston pole. Just want to win one of these big finals, the big money events, or even one or two of them. If you're going to pick me one method to do for the rest of my life, I would pick slider fishing. I love it. Fishing's always been a part of my life because basically since I was born, my dad's had a fishing tackle shop. And he's obviously fished as well. My uncle's always fished, so fishing's always been a part of my life. I didn't do it from the youngest of age, because I always played football. I loved football, but then I got a really bad injury in my knee, which didn't allow me to play anymore. So yeah, started fishing. When I very first started fishing, I liked the idea of pike fishing, but I was fishing one day and I just got bored because we weren't catching anything. So I went and got the little whip that we were using to catch live baits in Ireland, and just started fishing for roach and just started fishing for smaller fish. And yeah, progressed from there. Went from pike fishing, just from catching small fish, into like the commercial or the more of like the coarse fishing side of things, and then matches.
What was the first sort of matches you went into? How old were you?
So I think from memory I was about 12 or 13. I come back from that trip in Ireland, and I thought, right, I need to get involved with a bit more of this coarse fishing and like match style fishing. And then I got involved with a club called Bathampton AA Juniors. And I think what I'd done, basically, I come back, got all my kit sorted, got enough kit up together from my dad to fish some matches, and got involved with that club and went from there.
Can you remember your first match?
I think I can. I think I was on the River Avon, the Crane stretch, and it was flooded. Like it was horrendous. My dad had to be with me because if I fell in, and there was no way I was getting back out of the river. And yeah, I didn't catch a lot. I think I caught about less than a pound. It wasn't very memorable. That's probably why I don't remember it. But then we went on from there and fished all the junior matches, and then led on to like more of like the men's matches.
Lovely. What sort of kit were you using in that?
Probably very basic. I think once I started, obviously poles were about at that point. So I probably just had a very basic pole, feeder rod, waggler rod, stuff like that. I think from memory, I used to use a lot of Shakespeare stuff. Obviously Daiwa stuff as well. I remember my first pole being a Daiwa. But yeah, very basic stuff, but it soon, I think at that stage, that was when fishing kit was really starting to come on in technology. So it wasn't long before I had some real decent stuff.
So moving on from your first couple of matches, how did that progress?
So yeah, went to Bathampton Juniors, and I think the format with that club was that they had a match every month, probably more through the summer months. But yeah, I think what I'd done, I fished that match every month, and obviously the first year or two with a club, and when you're fishing as a junior, you learn so much so quickly. So I could see my fishing progressing as each match I fished. And there was one complex of lakes called Hunt Street Lakes, where the Bathampton Junior Club used to have all their matches. So yeah, we used to go to the Hunt Street Lakes on a Saturday, all the way through the year, fish a match against all the other juniors in the club. And yeah, that's my first like proper series of matches that I fished.
So how did that then sort of progress? Was there a specific moment where you realised that I'm pretty good at this? This might not be a hobby anymore. Yeah,
I think when you start getting better results within the matches, and then I progressed on to some of the men's matches and done well in them. And then I reached an age where I think I was like 13 or 14, where the whole England junior setups become a thing. I think basically when I entered the men's matches and still done well, that was a point where I thought, right, maybe I can make something of this, and maybe I can just keep progressing and go all the way.
Fleecing money off older people as a youngster?
I don't think they let me in the pools. I think it's illegal
really?
at that age or something. I don't know. It was classed as gambling.
I suppose.
So I had to just go and fish without being in the pools. Or I think the agreement I had with my dad was that he'd pay the pools, and then if I won anything, we'd have 50-50, I think. But it was a little while ago. But yeah.
Pay for your fish and chips.
Yeah,
that
that's
night.
it, yeah.
Who were your heroes or inspirations when you first started?
When I was growing up, you had the likes of Will Raisin, Alan Scott-Thorne winning, lots of world championships. Even anglers like Kim Milson, they sort of came from my area, the country. Des Ship was definitely from my area, the country. So all of that, like, sort of England-backed sort of angler was someone I'd look up to. I think back then the England team was just the absolute pinnacle. Everybody just aspired to be in the England team, and that was the one team that everybody wanted to be in. So anybody that was involved with that was someone I massively looked up to. I think I learned at a very young age that I loved competing. I love the thought of preparing and getting yourself into a good situation where you're going to be able to compete. And then I think anybody would be a liar if they said they don't like the feeling of winning at anything. So to go and fish and prepare your bait, prepare your rigs, prepare your kit, then go and fish a match against people that are a lot older than you and then win, that's the sort of feeling that I absolutely loved. I love preparing for stuff and then it coming good. So yeah, preparing, winning, I think I just absolutely fell in love with it from a really, really young age.
Do you remember the first match you won?
I can't remember the first match. The first real big match I won was when I first made the move from like the junior scene into a team called Thatcher's. And I think I won one of the Super League rounds. Now that was probably the first match that I won that you look back on and it's like a real mark on, like basically the first big match where there's lots of real decent anglers that are fishing. That's the one that really does stick in my head.
How did that then lead into being on the international stage?
So basically what happened, I got involved with Thatcher's, which was a great team, a great knowledge building team. And then the whole thing about the England junior team setup sort of came about. At that stage, what you had to do, you had to send a CV into the England management. And then if you had a good enough CV, a bit like a job interview, they'd put you through to a trial. And I remember my very first trial was at Larford Lakes, and at that stage it was the England under-15s. So Larford wasn't too far away from me. So then I went to the trial and unfortunately got in, and then got in the team, went to Portugal, fished my very first ever world champs in the under-15 team. And yeah, it led on from then. So yeah, the England junior team was the first big step up from club level into international level.
Can you go into a bit more detail about that first international?
Yeah, oh, wow. It's just mind-blowing for someone that's only ever fished at like the Bristol Avon, Hunt Street Lakes, to be taken and be like 14, 15 years old, to be taken out of that situation and then put into a country that at that time of year was like 40 degrees every day, to be do the type of fishing that you needed to do to compete, catching barbel, catching vimba, fish like that on the pole and the waggler, fishing like 6-7 foot over depth. Basically, we were taken as anglers and you had to learn within a week or two to fish the way that they do in Portugal. When you look back on it, it's a pretty impossible task, to be honest, but it was brilliant though, because it was all new and so exciting doing that style of fishing. So yeah, that was like the first sort of look in I got on international fishing, and it was mind blowing really. And I came back from that week or two fishing, and I was like, wow, like there's so much more to fishing than just going to Hunt Street Lakes or the Bristol Avon. Fishing so adverse and there's so many other ways that you can catch fish that it really did open my mind to everything.
That you'd made the England team, what did that feel like?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Obviously, that's what at that stage, I can't remember what year it was, everybody that just went fishing just strived to be an England international. There wasn't really any commercial scene. I think Fishmania was just coming about, but really back then fishing, there was no social media. There was not lots of big money events. It was all about team fishing and working your way through the ranks, through the team fishing to get into the England team. And yeah, that was the stage when I'm like, right, that's really what I wanted to do. That first year when I went away for the England juniors. And I tell you what happened as well. We obviously didn't do that well as a team on the first World Champs, but going to the medal ceremony and watching the other countries, like Portugal won it, I think Italy was second, Hungary were third. Watching that medal ceremony really did give me the drive, like that's what I want to do and I need to be winning medals at this stage.
What emotions came with wearing your national colours for the first time?
I think obviously you get a sense that you're very, very proud to represent your country. Basically what happened when you got into the team, you got given like this Drennan Team England tracksuit, and I remember I absolutely loved it. I think I wore it every day for about a month after getting it. I was really, really proud, and it's what you strive to do, and that's what I think anybody that does any sport at any age for your country is just a massive achievement. It shows that you're dedicated towards something. It shows that you've got a certain amount of talent, and I think that's what I was striving to do. And I was extremely proud at that age to be doing that. There was a lot of attention, a lot of press around it. The school that I was with were absolutely brilliant with it. They used me for their social media, for their promotion for the school. BBC got involved with it as well. So yeah, extremely proud.
How did your dad feel about it?
I would imagine similar, yeah, because obviously he was putting a lot of work in as well with the drive-in and financially. So I would imagine that, and he got the opportunity to come away and witness it all with me, obviously, because you had to have your parents with you. So I would imagine his emotions were very similar to me.
What did that, you getting into his world, into his fishing world, what did that do for your relationship with him?
Obviously, we spent so much time together, especially in the van. The miles we used to do travelling around with Thatchers and all the matches and that, and obviously we got to know each other really, really well. And then at a later stage is what I got involved with the business as well. So I've always been really close to my family. So doing something like fishing, being involved with a sport like that, only makes that bond stronger.
Paul, what's his situation? What do you reckon? His nerves seem to be jangling a little bit.
I don't know. He's his third, fourth year now at this, and I think he's getting used to it. Every year comes a bit easier, but I think he's ready for it. Yeah.
You mentioned 3 or 4 years. I mean, track his development since that debut that he made back in Croatia. I know how excited he was to be on the bank and wearing an England shirt then, and he's come into himself in this environment, hasn't he?
That's right. He's you can't beat experience. There's absolutely, you just cannot beat it. You know, to be here and to see and know what it's doing, to feel the tension and the nerves on the day, and to come through it and improve each time. There's no substitute for that. You just cannot beat it. You just got to be here and do it.
Could you just go into a bit more depth fishing abroad?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you fished in all of these different countries. How did you go about adapting to the different conditions and the way that they fished?
So basically, it's a bit of a case of learning on the job, to be honest. Obviously, we had a lot of experienced anglers in England that could help you. So Will, Alan, Bob, Nudd, people like that, they've been going away for quite a few years. So they give you a lot of advice about how to tackle what you're going to be put in front. And they give you a lot of advice on what kit you need. But realistically, when you turn up at the venue, these venues, when you go abroad, are so adverse. I mean, I fished little canals, not little canals, like smaller canals in Belgium. and then leading up to massive, great big rivers and reservoirs in Croatia, in Serbia, places like that. So they're so adverse that realistically you've got to try and just turn up and make the best of it and see what you can learn. And what you had to do for me now, looking back on it, is that you had a certain amount of time on a venue, say 2 weeks. So you're fishing for like, I don't know, 12 days. What you had to try and do was just improve each day on what you caught the day before and just try and learn as you went along. But I think that's why a lot of venues that we used to go to, as we done brilliant on most venues, but some venues we used to go to, we really struggled. And I think that's just because the fishing's so adverse.
So just going back to, so you've started in Portugal and you're under 15s.
Yeah.
How did it progress from there?
So basically, it was brilliant the way it was all set up, because you could get into the under 15s, and if you were good enough, you could go through the age groups all the way through. So at that point, it was under 15s, under 19s, and then they introduced another age group. Sorry if I get this not quite right, but at one point then there was 3 age groups. So you had like under 15s, under 20s, and under 23s. So if you were good enough, you could progress the whole way through, just keep going. And I was lucky enough to do it. I got in the under 15s, I fished for them for 2 years, and then I went to the trial for the under 20s, and the management thought I was good enough to just go literally from the under 15s straight into the under 20s. And then I believe I fished for the under 20s for about 2 years, and then I got straight into the under 23s. So from the age of like 14 all the way up to like 23, I think I fished for the England juniors, and just the way that they done the age groups allowed people, if they were good enough, to progress the whole way through.
Was there any events throughout that time period that stand out?
Yeah, the first one where we won a medal, because basically I went to Portugal the first year with the under 15s. I can't remember where I went the second year. And I think I fished about 3 world championships where we never won a medal. And I was like, I was absolutely like, it was just my main priority that I just wanted to win a medal. I wasn't even bothered about winning it, whether it was gold. I just wanted to win a medal and get up onto that podium. And then I think it was the second year with the under 20s, we went to a venue, Serbia, called Novi Sad. And yeah, we won it as a team there. And that was just incredible. Like, not only to win it, it be my first medal as well, was everything about it was just amazing. And Mark Downs, I think it was my second year with Mark Downs as my manager as well, which made it even more special. So yeah, it was that first year winning it, and it being my first medal is the one that really does stick out the most.
How old were you when you won that?
I must have been about 17 at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, I must have been 17 because I come out of the under 15s, fished a year, yeah, so I must have been 17 at that point, yeah.
Out of all the matches you fished internationally, would you say that was your top?
At junior level,
Yeah.
100%, that was the best, I would say, because especially I felt like that weekend I'd done really well. I didn't draw very good pegs at all, and I remember the second day I drew this box that led onto an M peg, and the first 5 pegs were absolutely brilliant, and I was miles down in my section. And I remember second day, I just kept feeding, just kept being really aggressive, and I wasn't catching anything, and I was miles down in my section. And then all of a sudden, like 90 minutes to go, I started catching really well, and I was only just behind the first 5 pegs who caught all match. And I remember coming away thinking that's like a proper team performance. So yeah, that for the junior stage, I would say that my first medal and winning in Serbia with that team, because we had a fantastic team, is the one that is my most memorable, definitely.
What's it like fishing in a team compared to just for yourself at an international level?
Yeah, it's just polar opposite. It's just like chalk and cheese. Basically, what happens when you fish for a team, and especially at that level, you get taught and you get drilled into you that when you go fishing, you have to keep every option open. So if you're not possible to do well, you have to have all the kit with you, and you have to have the bait prepared, that just to get you out of a bad situation and just end up being halfway in your section. So you have to have everything prepared, and you have to have that mentality that if things aren't going right, I just need to catch a few to not come last and come halfway in your section. And that's the mentality you've got to have. If you start your match in a team match and it's going well and you can win, brilliant, be positive, be aggressive, and be selective in the way you fish. But when you team fish, you've got to have that mentality that if I can't win, I need to come halfway. When you start fishing for yourself, and that's one thing I've struggled with a little bit when I first came out of the team fishing and went into the individual fishing, you can't have that mentality. I feel like the people that win the most of these big finals and big festivals and big matches have got the mentality that, well, I'm just going to fish in a way to win. If I come last, it doesn't matter. I'll be back next week and have another go. It doesn't matter. I don't want to come halfway. I'd rather come last than halfway. At least I give myself a chance to win. And that's the difference in mentality between team fishing and individual fishing. It's massive. And it took me a long time to get out of that mentality of having too much gear set up, having too much bait prepared, and just get into that mentality that I've just got to go and set 2 or 3 rigs up, have a little bit of bait, which I think is going to be the method to win the match, and just go and do it. If I catch £10, come last and make myself look a bit stupid, well, I'll come back next week, do the same again, but I might win next week. That's the difference in mentality.
How do you manage that pressure of performing for your team, essentially? Because it's not just down to you, you'd be letting down your team. So how do you go about managing that pressure?
I think what you've got to do is prepare as best you can. Prepare and just never leave any stones unturned. If you think there's something you can do that might get you out of a bad situation, you've got to have it ready, you've got to be prepared, and you've got to be at the top of your game. Because in that level, when you start fishing for England or world club level, if one of the team isn't quite up to scratch, you're never going to win. When I look back at the times we've won as a team, everybody's on it. Everybody was on the ball with it. They understood the fishing, they prepared well, and that's how you have to be to win as a team.
You've gone from under 15s all the way up to under 25s, did you say?
Under 23s at that point.
Under 23,
yeah.
so
yeah.
What happened after that?
So I was very, very fortunate. I made it straight out of the under 23s team, straight into the senior men's team. I was very, very fortunate. I think I might have been the first one to ever do it, go through all of the junior setup and straight into the men's senior team. So yeah, it was brilliant the way it all worked out for me, because I sort of started it at a certain age and they changed the age groups so that I literally carried on going through all the age groups of juniors. And then by the time I got to like 23, 24, I was that experienced from all of the junior fishing that I was very lucky, and the management were always behind me to put me straight into the senior team.
What was your first match in the senior team?
So the first match that I ever fished in the senior team was a European Championships in Serbia, and it was on the same venue where I won my first ever medal, the gold medal, Novi Sad. So it was lovely to go back, and we fished the European Championships there. I think Mark Downs decided to take 2 new young anglers, and he took me and Lee Carey. So that was brilliant. Lee's a lovely lad, so it was so nice to go away with him. We didn't do so well that year as a team. I think we done okay. We were 5th or 6th, but not in the medals though. But it was brilliant because obviously I fished in the juniors, which was great, but then going to the seniors was just like a whole different level. Was like the professionalism, the way that they'd done everything, driving myself instead of like, we used to get someone to drive a van with all our kit on, and we used to just go to the EasyJet, fly over, Bosch, we were there. So now being involved, travelling with Will, being in our own vans, driving to these venues that are like, some of them are like 20, or Bulgaria, it took us like 2.5 days to get there. To do that volume of driving, it was just a whole different level of professionalism.
Your top 3 Senior international
Senior
matches?
international matches. So the first one was the year after that. So my second year at the Europeans, we went to Belgium, and we were fishing for bream, which we obviously fish for in England. So I felt like we had a good chance to win, and it was slider fishing, which I absolutely love. If you're going to pick me one method to do for the rest of my life, I would pick slider fishing. I love it. And the fishing was incredible. We were fishing for 1 to 5 bream. And I think that might sound a little bit extreme to say that the fishing was incredible, only fishing for 1 to 5 bream. But if you done everything dead right and you were accurate and you fed the right bait, you would always catch between 1 and 5. And I think me and Will went 7 days in a row where both of us caught between 1 and 5, and that was the task. And I remember the first day of the Europeans, I caught 1 bream, I had 1 bite, and then the second day of the Europeans, I had 5, and we done brilliant as a team. Again, I went away with Lee Carey as well, the other young angler. He done brilliant. I travelled with Will, and it wasn't such a long drive because only in Belgium, literally pop over the tunnel and away you go. So that was the first medal I won as a senior, and we won again. So it was very similar to the juniors. The first medal I won with the juniors was gold, and the first medal I won with the seniors was gold. So that was an incredible experience to win my first medal with the seniors. Probably be my second memorable would be a club match. So at that point then, when I was about 15, 16, I also got asked to fish for Dorking. And then we went away and fished a World Club Championships. So the team was like me, Will, Steve Gardner, Lee Edwards, Darren Davis and Simon Willsmore. And we went to Italy. I can't remember what the venue was called now. Wasn't Spinadesca, Ostellato. So we went to Italy, Ostellato in Italy, and no English team had won the World Clubs as a team. And we went away and we had some great advice from a Hungarian guy called Szilard. And we won it there. And the style of fishing that we were doing, it was like 35 degrees, and we were potting in 30 balls of lean before the start of the match, so you got 10 minutes. So it was almost a bit of a fitness endurance test to get your bait in within that 10 minutes. And the fishing was incredible, catching like between 8 and 15 kilos of skimmers on the pole. So that's fish that we fish for in England, and I think that's why we've done so well. And then probably my third one with the seniors was probably Bulgaria, the first ever time I won my section with the senior team. We come third, so we got a medal, which was brilliant. And that was just a memorable one for me because the fishing was brilliant. I felt like I'd done well, and that was my first section win at that level. So that's 3 absolute brilliant experiences with the senior team, yeah.
Callum, hive of activity in your peg this morning. You're even a bit out of breath. It's a hot one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got hotter and hotter as the week's gone on, but it's a lovely venue, lovely place. So if we can catch a few fish today, it'll be all right.
How are your nerves?
Yeah, it's good. I'm nervous, which I always am, and you should be for World Championships. It's the elite level, the very, very top, so you should be nervous. I like it when I'm nervous. It shows I'm taking it seriously. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it though, because I like this type of fishing. So yeah, it should be good.
Talk us through your draw. What do you reckon?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about it really. The thing is, it's a rowing course. It's dead straight. There's one gap with the bridge, so there's not much of a muchness really. You know, we fished here Thursday. We didn't catch a lot, but I don't think we've done it quite right. So yeah, could be all right. Yeah.
How did it evolve your fishing technically and tactically? How much did it progress you?
Massive, absolutely massive. Because obviously, I don't want to make this sound bad, but the fishing in England's quite simple. Like you go to these commercial fishing and it's all very much the same and it's all very simple. And even the natural fishing in England's quite simple fishing. When you go abroad, you just get put in some really adverse situations. Like my first ever World Championships, I got put on a river that was electrically powered. And it was so fast that a 50-gram flat float, you had to just let it run at the pace of the river. You couldn't hold a 50-gram flat float because it would be like that on the surface. It was that fast. And when you get like a flooded river in England you get like these little boils going down the river, don't you? And over there, the boils were the size of my van, just going down the middle of this river. So you get put in these situations that are so adverse. Like in Belgium, we had to fire like 40 balls of lean at 50 meters, and you basically had to hit like a bin lid every single time. So there was a lot. I feel like the international fishing is a lot more technically advanced. The level probably isn't quite, at that point, wasn't quite as high as like the commercial fishing, but technically fishing, the international fishing is very intense, and you've got to be on it. You've got to be able to adapt to those situations.
What's one skill or mindset that separates the great anglers from the good ones?
I've been very, very lucky to fish with probably all of the very best anglers to ever walk the earth. Alan Scott and Will Raisin, Des Ship, people like that. And one thing I would say about all of them is they lose well. We're not involved. Fishing is not a sport where you're going to win every week. It's never the same. It isn't snooker. It isn't golf. It isn't darts, where every time you go it's exactly the same. You can draw bad pegs. You can go to venues where don't suit your style of fishing. You can get it wrong. You can get the wrong tactics wrong on the day. We're fishing for a live animal. It's not the same. So how you lose, I think, dictates on how much you win. If you come away from a bad day, kick and scream and never want to go again, you're never going to improve. If you go get a bad day and analyse it and think, right, what did I do wrong, and use that as motivation to improve you for your next trip, that's how you have to be to separate from a good angler to a great angler, I believe, anyway.
We're going to test you now. Do you have an example from an international match where it didn't quite go your way, but you bounced back from it?
I haven't got an in particular time that I can think of off my head now where things didn't go right and you bounce back for it. I think personally all the greatest anglers just naturally have that instinct of when you have a bad day, you have to work on it and move on. You can't dwell on a bad day. You just can't do it. There's nothing in particular. I think when I was lucky enough to travel with Will in all of my first days as a senior international, and how he thought about a bad trip was incredible. He's like, right, so next time we're in that situation, right, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to change. This is how we need to think about that for next time and adapt to it and move on. I think I was surrounded by him, and he taught me that you've just got to learn and move on. You can't dwell on a bad day. It's just, if you dwelled on bad days, you would give up. If you like, John Raisin once said to me, after a bad day at Gold Valley once, if you're going to get this upset about a bad day, give up, because you've got so many more of them to come. And he couldn't have been more true. So yeah, I think losing wells is massively important, but no, nothing, not one day in particular. To be honest, I had so many bad days that I can't remember just one off the top of my head. But yeah, that's how I do it.
It kind of shows that you're not dwelling on it, that you can't remember a specific one.
I listened to a Roger Federer talk at a university the other day on YouTube. He was at a university giving a talk, and it blew my mind, to be honest, because he said an elite tennis player like himself, when he turned professional to the day he retired, he won 80% of his professional matches, but he only ever won 54% of the points in the matches. So he said if I was to dwell on a bad point, a lost point, that 80% would have been a lot lower. And I thought that rings so true within fishing. You're going to get days where you don't draw well. It's just going to happen. If you were to just dwell on that, you would never improve for your next time when you do draw well.
What are you most proud of in your career?
I know I keep saying it, but I was so fortunate to fish within some of the greatest teams that I think have ever been. So there were so many moments, and we'd done so well that I can't probably narrow it down to one. I know this sounds stupid, but being dedicated enough and being prepared enough and being talented enough to be able to go through the junior team straight into the men's team was massive for me. Put all the medals to the side and all the times that we won, doing that was massive for me. I don't know what it was just something about it. I just felt like that was, personally, that was a massive achievement to be able to go through the whole way through the junior team, never getting dropped any years, and then just go straight into the senior team was massive for me.
How has fishing shaped you outside of competition?
Oh, it's taught me so much, how to be as a person, how to be dedicated, strive to be better as a person, how to get better as a person, how to be professional, how to act around certain people, how to surround yourself with the right people. I think the lessons you learn in sport, you can adapt to all parts of your life. I think you can adapt that to business, to sport, to life in general. I think I've learned so much from fishing that I've tried to put into other elements of my life that have improved me as a person.
If a young angler approached you now and wanted to follow a similar path, what would you say to them? What advice would you give?
I would personally don't do what I done. So I wouldn't pick a route and then change at any point. So what I probably would do is think to yourself, what excites you more, winning the World Championships or winning Fishmania? And whichever one of those that you want to do the most, pick that route and stick with it. I think doing what I've done in changing the route sometimes feels like a bit of an impossible task. But yeah, that's what I would do. Pick a route and just dedicate yourself to it. Just dedicate and just work really hard, relax and enjoy it, but just dedicate.
So you touched on changing your path. What made you, what was happened to sort of make you make the decision to leave the England setup?
I think I can't put my finger on just one thing. I think there was quite a few things going on that added up to make me want to leave and change paths. To start off with, the one thing I'd done wrong, and since having a child and starting a family, I realised this, that I made fishing and fishing for England and winning gold medals the main priority in my life. Is everything I could think about, and I made it almost too important, because it was all I could think about. And to do well at that level, I put so much pressure on myself to do well because it was so important to me that it took the enjoyment out of it. I was putting so much pressure on myself, preparing so hard, and I wanted it so bad that I couldn't enjoy it. The only way you can enjoy things is if you just relax, and you don't do anything well in life unless you're happy whilst you're doing it. I don't believe anyway. And that amount of pressure and how important I made it took all the enjoyment out of it. So yeah, been making it too much of a life and death situation to do well when I fish for England was definitely one reason. Not enjoying it on the back of that is a second reason. I didn't agree with a few things that went on within the team. I didn't agree with how we practiced. I didn't think we practiced well at all. At times I just felt like it was a battle to get in the team because obviously one person got left out when it went right. Me and Will, the management stopped me and Will from travelling together, which I didn't agree with. I think me and Will, when we travelled together, we were unbelievable. Like, we bounced off each other so well, and we always done so well together when we travelled together. So I still to this day don't understand why they ever split us up. So yeah, that's a few things that all added up to make me think like I need to make a change, because I really wasn't happy at that stage. And I did go on to make the change to the commercial scene. But a lot of people seem to think with me that it was the management when it really wasn't. I don't know why they would think that. I've never ever said once that it was the management why I wanted to change. I admired Mark Downs. I thought he was a brilliant manager, and Steve Sanders and Mark Addy. And yeah, I don't know why people think I've got that have thought of me, but it's definitely not that. It was a lot to do with some of the mistakes I made and a few things that happened all added up to make me want to change.
What does representing your country mean to you?
Today, I still think it's a big thing. I still think fishing for England is a big achievement. I just think there's other things that you can fish now that have probably got more of a pull than fishing for England. Like, realistically, if you're gonna say to a young angler, you can fish in England and fish all the matches that you want to, and then have a possible chance of winning 50, 70 grand, or you have to do a month's preparation, drive halfway across the world and fish a venue that you've never really fished like before, and then maybe not do so well and then drive all the way home. I think the commercial scene has got a bigger pull now than the international scene. There's still obviously great lads that do the international scene, and they're absolutely fantastic anglers, and that fair play to them. If that's what they want to do, then brilliant. But I think it has lost its appeal a little bit, probably because of the great matches that you can fish in England now. I think in England now we are so lucky with the competitions that we've got available to fish. You think about some of the big matches we've got to fish. We've got Maven Match This at Hayfield. We've got Fishermania at Westwood. Got Golden Reel at Larford. Fish North, Fish South, Fish Midlands. You've got all these amazing events that you can win a big amount of money, and you don't have to travel so far. We do a little bit more if you live in the south, but fishing for England now is still an amazement achievement, but there is other competitions and other ways of going about fishing that have got a big pull as well.
When you look back on everything you've achieved, what do you hope your story says to the next generation of anglers?
I think to the next generation of anglers, I think maybe that it is possible to, I want to be able to say, look, it is possible to do both. You can fish for England and you can do well in the commercial scene. I probably wouldn't advise it, but it is possible to do both, to stretch yourself, to learn new ways of fishing, to work hard, to put the effort in, to put the miles in. And that once you do that, you will get rewarded. Basically now, when I look back at my career now, I've done the international scene, I've won a numerous amount of medals, like I've won decent amounts of medals because I was fortunate enough to fish in the best teams and win it individually. If I can go and win a couple of big finals now, I can chill. I can chill for the rest of my life then. If I can just win a Mavo or a Fisho, which hopefully I will do over the next few years, and then I can just chill because then I've done well in both scenes, and then I can relax and be happy for the rest of my life. Well, hopefully anyway.
So would you say that's your next big thing, is to...
Absolutely. Yeah, that's all I want to do now. I'm not even, I know it sounds bad, I'm not even bothered about fishing like festivals and stuff like that. I just want to win one of these big finals, the big money events, or even one or two of them. And then, like I said before, I can just chill and be happy then. And I can put my commercial medals next to my international medals and be happy.